Welcome back, everybody. Ready for some more hot console league action as always. I'm your host, hi-rez aggro. This is my main man's Anatoly.
We're here.
We really out here. And we're going to bring you a pretty good matchup here, Toly, because Strictly Business came out of the relegation period, and then last week we saw them surprise 2-0 Obey, and now they're up against Elevate here. This is a definite measuring stick still for Strictly Business. Coming in the day, they were second place in the North American SCL, but this is definitely, if they can find a 2-0 here, this would be a good look for them moving forward for the rest of the season.
Especially going against Elevate. This is a team that's not been known to be the top of the top, so definitely a good opportunity for them to get some more points under their belt. And this is only the week number 3 here, so still a lot of action here as we're going to head into the picks and bans for game number 1.
I mean, absolutely. And, you know, these relegation teams, these younger teams, sometimes they'll play up to their competition, and then they don't really prepare as much or just aren't ready for the games that you need to win. But I mean, you talk to the tenured teams on both the console and the PC, they'll say, you know, okay, if we beat the number 1 team, we're number 2, we beat the number 1 team, great, that feels good, but we have to make sure we're beating the teams we're supposed to be beating.
And that's a huge test towards your mentality whenever you have these different matchups, playing the best team versus playing the worst team. You have to bring your A game every single time. Elevate, though, taking away the Ymir and the Ullr, locking in the Cabrakan.
Yeah, 2 targeted bans there for Strictly Business, mainly looking at the jungler and solo laner, Reminisst and Nickwood for SB. Xing and Poseidon, going to do picks here. Mr. Teep very, very comfortable on this Poseidon. And Xing, we've seen Nickwood basically only play Guardians, if I remember correctly, so far in this young season. Wouldn't be surprised to see Xing going over to him.
Guan Yu locked in for Elevate. Could be a little bit of a flex here. We haven't seen Guan Yu go into that Guardian role quite often, but it's still a good opportunity to look for some of this proxy farming. If you can look to isolate the enemy hunter, you have a Guan Yu support, you can clear very effectively using that Talu Assault level 1 and 2.
Elevate really values their sustain. You see the Hellband for Strictly Business. That isn't in the mid lane. That's for the duo lane, actually. Michael Checo piloted that up against Zaxi and the Boys of Soar last week, and it worked out really, really well. Somehow, I suppose. Scotty and Hunbat's the bans by SB, Odin and Medusa for Elevate, looking to take away some of that team fight potential for SB, but it does leave open the Fafnir, the pick here for Chillvanus. Very, very strong pick in this meta right now.
Well, one way you get rid of the heals is you execute them before they even matter, and the longer the team fights. Having that Thanatos is going to mean good things for Strictly Business. The last 2 picks for Elevate wrapping things off, Ratatoskr and Apollo. A lot of global ultimates on those 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Pressure around the map and just overall pressure in the early and mid game. Apollo still pressures you pretty heavily in that late game. Ratatoskr, not so much, really becomes more of a setup god, but there's plenty to set up for the Zeus and Apollo. Ullr, going to be the last pick here for Keji, the hunter for Strictly Business. Going to try and match that early game pressure from Apollo. But both teams really seem pretty committed to the team fights, I would say, Toly. The double Guardian composition out of Strictly Business here, and a good amount of just overall poke damage from a distance. And they have that, of course, they have that ability to all in with the Poseidon Kraken.
That's the whole goal. You're trying to find somebody in that execute threshold for the hovering death on the side of Reminisst. And there's also good setup here with this double Guardian, like you mentioned before, because even though Mr. Teep is playing Poseidon, his in-hands, if you can boost that attack speed by when he pops that Trident, is going to be a huge benefit in those mid to late game team fights, especially once he gets Gem of Isolation.
Absolutely, and the Fatalis probably, so he's going to be kiting around a lot with a ton of attack speed, courtesy of that Coerce buff for Chillvanus, which also interacts in a great way with Ullr for Keji. He's got that attack damage steroid on his 2 in the bow stance, but no real attack speed. He only gets that from his items and leveling up his passive, or his ultimate, which basically is passive. But it definitely works well with this Ullr for Keji. For Elevate, though, we see a little bit of a switch up. Still the same 5 players. The first 2 weeks of the SCL, DoctorL was playing in the mid lane. This time it's Oboronic returning, and he's on his signature god. Zeus is the god that he really came into the SCL and made an impact with, and now his first return back here in Season 4. Going to be back on it.
And DoctorL playing this jungle Ratatoskr, this is not something that he's been known to be doing in the solo lane back in the day. He's been playing a lot of these warriors, so having to go into the jungle playing assassin, it's going to be a true test of his abilities in Smite.
I mean, he's been moving around quite a bit. Like I mentioned, Season 3, solo laner, moves to the mid lane early on in Season 2, where Oboronic takes to the jungle role. That wasn't working out for Elevate, they felt, so they make the switch yet again, moving Oboronic back to his mid lane. Now at DoctorL in the jungle. That's a tough ask of a player to ask them to play 3 different positions in quick succession like that. Can really mess with your flow as a Smite player.
Especially going from solo to mid to jungle. These roles are not similar by any stretch of the imagination. So DoctorL is going to have to perform really well against Reminisst Thanatos. Both of these gods rely relatively well off of the early game lead and trying to build off any sort of momentum, especially for Reminisst on the Thanatos. They can't really play from behind, whereas DoctorL on the Ratatoskr, even if you do fall behind in the level department, you're still going to be looking for those setup plays, trying to get oBoronic the damage confirmed.
That's the player who I'm really looking at in this matchup, Totally, is oBoronic. Like I mentioned, whenever he was in the mid lane, this is the god that he really made his name on, was the Zeus. Everyone was banning it against him pretty much permanently throughout Season 3. Pretty surprised that Strictly Business was able to give it up to him, but DoctorL really just needs to be a facilitator in this matchup. Kenshin's going to be there to peel, help initiate when necessary, but really just be there to heal oBoronic. oBoronic's going to be the one that I believe Elevate and SB are going to have their eyes on moving forward into this game.
And with the draft from Elevate and oBoronic on the Zeus, you're going to have Delnyy on the solo lane Cabrakan, trying to get people out of position using that wall ultimate. And then you have Kenshin on the Guan using the cavalry charge just to be able to dive. And this seems very all-in-ish to me from Elevate, but at the same time, having the sustain from Guan and a little bit of poke damage from oBoronic and Michael Checo means that they can still fall back. They don't necessarily have to commit off of those 2 frontliners.
No, the late game potential here for Elevate feels pretty strong as we see DoctorL make his first gank in the jungle role. Going to put a decent amount of pressure onto Keji, but is forced to use the purification beads there after that axe from the Ullr, with the Reminisst and Chillvanus lurking in that jungle. DoctorL didn't want to stick around there any longer than he had to.
I like the play from DoctorL, but he hesitated towards stunning out the Ullr while he was still in bow stance, obviously not able to jump away, having to switch stances and then jumping. Instead, he was electing to hold on to it to be able to chase the Ullr after the jump, but now hitting level 5, he does have that global.
Looking for Nikwit in the solo lane. Nikwit knows what's happening, but he's still going to get stunned out. Locked in as well, but it's Delnyy. He's going for a ride underneath that tower. A good stun, though. Make sure that Nikwit can't knock him up and lock him down in that tower. So a couple ultimates used on both ends, but no kills thus far. On the left-hand side, though, Gold Fury started up by Elevate, or excuse me, SB. That's SB who get that for free. Walk away. Kraken, the only thing really used there. Nice map awareness by the Challenger Cup players.
Once DoctorL used that global Ratatoskr ultimate, there was no fear from Strictly Business. They have the burst damage on Mr. Teep's Kraken. They didn't have to worry about the area of effect knockup coming from DoctorL, getting the early game objective, and this is important in terms of Season 4 Smite. The Gold Fury gives a little bit more gold than the previous seasons. Before, it was 150 gold to start things off with 10 gold per minute. Now, starts off at 190 gold, gaining 8 gold per minute.
So it still ends up around the same spot there for the Gold Fury, but like you mentioned, in the earlier stages of the game, which the 3.5 minute mark when they took that certainly counts as the early stages of the game, going to be much better for you as a team. And I mean, it just always felt weird to me in Season 3 that you could do a Gold Fury, but if you lose your right side buffs, you are, because of the fact that you full committed to the Gold Fury, you lost gold in the end of the day. So I think that this change makes teams that are a little bit more map aware, like a team like Strictly Business, makes them a little bit happier in terms of this.
And looking back at Season 3, it was also the fact that Bumba's Mask, you want to share so much of the jungle farm. So not only were you denying buffs to the enemy, you're also getting your own buffs. So you're separating yourself about that 100 to 200 gold mark per buff. So you get 2 buffs, you're getting about 300 to 400 gold in return, despite all that Gold Fury that the enemy team got. And if they only got about, let's say, 600 gold or so, that's still a good spot for you, because you get most of that gold back anyway, but more importantly, you get that experience off of all those buff invades.
Well, Strictly Business, they've got a slight lead in that gold department, though not really in the experience. That's dead even right now with Elevate. Been doing a pretty good job farming that gold difference, really coming from the back of that Gold Fury that Strictly Business was able to sneak away as Elevate tried to gank that right-hand side. We talked a lot about the early game pressure that both of these compositions provide, really looking at Reminisst on the Thanatos and DoctorL on the Ratatoskr, the junglers, to put that early pressure on the map. But in the later stages of the game, I do think that the composition favors Elevate with the Zeus-Apollo combination.
Definitely has more area of effect control with the Zeus ultimate. In these jungle encounters, oBoronic is going to be able to do a lot of damage with Delnyy's control with the Cabrakan wall, as well as has the Tremors that can displace a lot of people. If you want to zone them away from the right with one side of the Tremors or the ultimate from oBoronic, that's two options you can explore on the side of Elevate.
And this is a great start for Michael Checo in this duo lane because he's recognizing that they just want to wait until the late game. Elevate want to wait until the mid to late stages of the game and really allow DoctorL to carry them through the early. And you can see Michael Checo, he's got the Devourer's Gauntlets right off the bat, already 25 stacks in. Been very, very safe so far in that duo lane. Keji almost completed his Transcendence, has the Warrior Tabi completely finished, but still waiting to start stacking up his item. But you can see Michael Checo's focus definitely towards the later stage of the game with this lifesteal item.
And I'm assuming that Keji actually wanted to finish Transcendence before Boots, but the problem was that early gank attempt by DoctorL probably have dissuaded him from attempting to go for that option, because whenever your opposing hunter is going for early Devil Gloves, you might as well match it with a power spike of your own by going for an early Transcendence. Without the mobility on the side of Michael Checo, he can't really pressure you offensively. He's just going to be looking to hold his ground, and any sort of damage you do to this Apollo, he's going to sustain it back.
Yeah, Reminisst really hasn't put his stamp on any lane quite yet. You see the Gold Fury start up, he was there for that, and SB's able to secure it, but no real buff invades, no real gank attempts from the jungler for Strictly Business. Just content to farm in the early game, even with this Thanatos that usually likes to play aggressive pre-10 minutes. Right now, as his Death Scythe is getting maxed out, is when he's going to be doing the big bulk of his damage.
He's also waiting for an important power spike item, waiting to finish off that Shield of Regrowth. Every single time he's going to hit that Death Scythe, he's going to get that sustain back, proccing that Shield of Regrowth, getting that additional 40% movement speed, making it very difficult to really run away from Reminisct or to be able to catch up to him.
Kenshin there watching as Strictly Business just finishes off those mid-harpies. SB, they don't really look like a team that just came out of the Challenger Cup to me, totally. They're on time for buffs. They're on time for contestable objectives. Their map knowledge seems to be pretty strong. This is a team that could really make some noise early on here in the season.
And this is why they're extending their lead slowly but surely after that Gold Fury. They're still building it. They're up about 1,600 gold here in the 8-minute mark. And this is off of a very early, just one single Gold Fury, able to control the map rather effectively despite not killing anybody, but not losing anybody in return either.
Another little moment of pressure there on the left-hand side onto Keji by DoctorL. This is good timing for Elevate as the Gold Fury is just respawning right now. You can see Delny's actually made the rotation in the middle lane just to help out in case Elevate want to pull this Gold Fury. Chillvanus and Nick would try and just face check it, but Nickwood's going in. There's the Whirlwind of Rage's Steel, picks up oBoronic. The beads is late, but it immunes him from the Kraken enough. He drops the Lightning Storm, but it's not enough as Nickwood's able to pick up that first blood. DoctorL responds, but there's the Hovering Death. Reminisct not able to find an execute, 1-for-1. Both mid laners the only to fall.
Checo taking a lot of poke from that Death Scythe. Has to rely on those Devil Gloves as well as the sustain coming out of Kenshin, 1-for-1. And both of these junglers making an impact with those global ultimates. Despite Reminisct not finding a kill or an assist, that stun still is a good factor in terms of turning the tide of a team fight.
I'm very surprised we saw oBoronic be so late with the Purification beads. It looked like he didn't want a beads. He thought maybe there's no one here. They're just trying to get the beads. And then he hits the Purification in midair. Again, he doesn't get knocked up or stunned by the Kraken, but he still takes all the damage. I feel like if oBoronic just beads is instantly there and they full commit to Nickwood, who had committed with his jump, they can that Elevate could have really turned that fight pretty heavily.
Especially considering that if he survives that extra 5-10 seconds, you get off a second rotation of spells. Every single in-hand hits like a truck. Especially at this point, level 9, your in-hand Zeus on a triple stack target just gets amplified more and more. Yeah. And those in-hands hurt way harder than Mr. Teep's do.
Plus, you got the meditation coming out from Kenshin that wasn't able to find oBoronic, I don't think. The heals as well. You can really start to see how that fight could have snowballed in Elevate's favor. Regardless, it's a 1-for-1 trade. First Blood does go the way of Strictly Business, which makes sure that their lead is safe for the time being. Portal Demon has spawned on that right-hand side, but no one looking at it quite yet. Nickwood still piloting this Guardian in the solo lane, so it's clear not super great.
Rotation, though, from members of Elevate. They were looking to collapse on those right-side mid-harpies, or maybe they were just looking to see if the Portal Demon was being contested here. Delnyy was in a spot that could have been collapsed on, but nobody really from Strictly Business recognized this. But Kenshin, though, is out of position. Gets silenced, but the Death Scythe off the mark. It does force DoctorL, though, panicking ulting.
Well, they're looking for Reminisst. There's the dunk down from DoctorL, but Michael Checo's is a little bit late. Can't find the So Beautiful through the wall, and DoctorL almost falls. Kenshin came screaming in on the horse, but realized there was nothing to really do about it, so he immediately retreats. 2-3, actually. Pretty big ultimates burned there by Elevate off of one just kind of weird positioning there by Kenshin, though he's just sitting in the mid harpies to get that mid lane farm, right?
He was sitting there to get the mid farm, as well as just looking through the wall to see if it's going to be his time to start rotating, to go around the mini-map, to be able to flank.
Delnyy, there's the Kraken, there's the hail of arrows as well. The washing machine secures it. Delnyy dead so quickly, nowhere for him to go. oBoronic going to take a big chunk of damage in the mid lane from the dunk down from Reminisst, but
still has ultimate.
Still looking for it. Lightning Storm is available over the wall. You can see everyone's there. There is the Lightning Storm, and the Portal Demon does go the way of SB through the detonate damage. That was very, very close. DoctorL trying to get a return kill in favor of Elevate, just not quite able to do so. Really close objective contest there, but SB somehow able to secure it.
Very confident was oBoronic, still with 25% health, just casually walking up to that Portal Demon. Could have been a potential bait there. You know, the lower you get, you do get the passive off of Reminisst on the Thanatos, having the vision on you. But either way, Elevate, despite losing that Portal Demon, they answer back with the second Gold Fury of the game for themselves.
Love that play there from Elevate, recognizing that most of Strictly Business was still on that right-hand side, and when they back, they're just going to walk through that portal anyways. Not anywhere close enough to contest that Gold Fury. Goes Elevate's way, no problem whatsoever. Shout-outs again to those Devourer's Gauntlets for Michael Checo, really making that possible there on the Gold Fury, not just able to basically two-man it there with the damage from oBoronic. So the game basically evened up. We're at the 12-minute mark, right around 13 minutes. It's 2-1 in kills. Strictly Business still has a slight gold lead. That last Gold Fury for Elevate closes the gap to right around 1,000.
It's not too much on the side of Elevate. They do have a little bit of an experience lead as well. Most of this comes on the form of oBoronic, having level 11 versus Teep level 10. Michael Checo does have the 1 level lead as well, able to really out-farm Keji, being able to get a lot of this solo farm, and now he's going to be working towards a Fatal. It's going to be moving really quickly, as well as attacking fast, making sure that he's always going to have those Audacity stacks available to him.
And that huge lifesteal is really going to pay dividends in the 1v1 scenarios. Keji's going to have a little bit more power with the Transcendence, but it's not that much of a difference, I believe, between a fully stacked Transcendence and a fully stacked Devourer's Gauntlets. But while Keji gets a lot of mana, and that's all great and stuff, Checo's going to be healing for each auto he throws at Keji, going to make it very difficult for the Ullr to trade back into it.
The only difference is who's going to be out of position for these hunters to be able to hit in the process. And Keji is going to be looking for a lot of those hail of arrows, bladed arrows, making sure that whoever gets stunned and out of position gets blown up in about 2 seconds flat. Yet again, trying to synergize with Reminisst in that execute threshold. Whereas Michael Checo and crew with Kenshin on the Guan Yu has a lot of sustain options.
Well, Kenshin's looking for Teep in that middle lane, finds the double stun. There's the dunk down from DoctorL as well. Mr. Teep going to get erased by the Lightning Storm and Detonate combination. oBoronic able to find it, gets himself on the board, evens up the kills 2-2. Elevate takes it to the mid laner.
The timing of that kill was so important for Elevate because they take advantage of Mr. Teep still being level 11. Before he's level 12, he doesn't have that second relic slot available to him. He started off with purification beads. He doesn't have the Aegis to be able to negate that triple stack detonate damage.
Yeah, I feel like Mr. Teep just had to run in that scenario. I mean, he gets ulted. Kenshin, there's no surprise factor there. You're staring at each other in the 3v3 in the mid lane, and then Kenshin just hops on his horse and starts sprinting at you. You kind of have to understand that you're going to get full dove there. Teep tries to turn around and throw out the Kraken, and that's what ultimately gets him killed. He could have potentially just walked right out of that Lightning Storm.
Especially, that's the difference between 2 or 3 stacks. That extra difference is what allowed Elevate to find that kill. Doesn't really get anything off of it. It's just going to be an opportunity to get a little bit more farm, separating the gap of these mid laners. oBoronic now with a 2-level lead here. He does have the Dynasty Plate helmet finished here, and now going for more mobility.
A little bit of survivability as well. The Winged Blade would really help him out here, and that's what he's going for with that Adventurer's Blade pickup. You got a lot of slows on the side of Strictly Business, and important ones at that. I mean, the Whirlpool is the first one that comes to mind, obviously, but Death Sight, the pretty potent slow, and then Chillvanus with the hammer, it stuns the first target it hits, but then it's that big AoE, purple pulse that comes out. And that's a pretty significant slow. that oBoronic could really use that Wingblade to immune.
And a defensive Zeus will still get off a lot of confirmed damage. The base damage off of your in-hands whenever there's a target with 3 stacks is high enough. As long as you're surviving long enough with your Dynasty Plate helmet, with the physical protections, and then the health you get from Wingblade, you're basically putting yourself out of execute threshold with Reminisst, as well as relying on the sustain from Kenshin in the form of his one and his meditate.
So we talk about it all the time, Tully, and I feel like this might be the game that we can kind of break it down a little bit more because of the pace so far. We're 16 minutes in, only 4 kills on the board. We talk about base damage and versus, you know, scaling damage, and Zeus is one of those characters that gets the majority of his damage just by putting points into his abilities. He doesn't really have to worry about building damage. And that's why we see so many Zeuses get away with this tanky-oriented build, is just because his base numbers are so high that the scaling isn't really that relevant. He doesn't need to build a whole lot of power in order to do the big damage numbers.
It's all about the style of the god that you're playing. We see on the left-hand side, though, DoctorL not on the mark with the stun, but Zeus is one of those styles where he's going for the area of effect damage. Poseidon has more mobility, so he goes for more of the option of the Fatalis, the Gem of Isolation, trying to synergize with that mobility, with that Trident steroid, having those triple-pronged. Hitting the sides will also allow you to find the slow, and even going for the Gem of the Spear of the Magus here on the side of Mr. Teep, surprisingly enough, trying to synergize even more with Niquid playing this Xing in the Guardian, which does a respectable amount of damage in the mid to late game.
As does Chillvanus on this Fafnir in the mid to late game. I mean, once Fafnir transforms into that dragon, he's putting out a decent amount of damage, and the Spear Tick is going to help the very quick auto attacks, the Dragon's Breath basically for Chillvanus, do a little bit of extra damage. I like this Spear pickup quite a bit here for Mr. Teep, who is working into what is likely to be a Gem of Isolation. I highly doubt that'll be an Ethereal Staff. And then we expect to see that Fatalis soon afterwards.
It's definitely going to be the case there. Season 4, a lot of players have been picking up the Fatalis with the addition to 10 penetration on it. Now it is getting a little bit of a nerf, though. It's going to not be as expensive as before. Getting to think about a 200 or 300 gold nerf.
Yeah, a little bit, as well as a little bit of less attack speed on the tier 2, I believe, is the idea there for Fatalis, and hasten Fatalis. Of course, Fatalis is just a tier 2. If they only built Fatalis, it wouldn't be very good, would
Everyone calls it Fatalis, though, to be fair.
It's true.
Nobody really calls it hasten Fatalis.
I know. I think Pon burned someone with that over the weekend. I got a little bit of a kick out of that. I like when Pon gets a little savage.
He can get a little spicy.
He can. He spent a lot of time with Hindu on the Patch Notes show.
That's true. Anyone that spends time with Hindu, it changes a man.
We had this weekend off with the SPL bye week, and I was just so happy all weekend, and now I see Hindu again. I just want to be mean to people.
That's what he does in the office. It's just
not to him, because I'm scared.
The mojo that he just brings, you know?
Just a savage aura. It's like he has sovereignty, but instead of physical protection, it's an HP 5.
It's just banter,
savagery.
Though. That's his passive. It's just banter.
It's his passive is his accent, and it's OP.
It really is.
The only reason he gets away with anything he says is because of the accent. Can we all agree on that?
Twitch chat?
They agree. I don't need to look. Gold Fury started up by Elevate. Reminisst knows this is happening, and DoctorL pops up into the tree, looking to go through the Cosmos and find some damage onto the members of Strictly Business. But the Gold Fury getting very low and goes the way of Elevate immediately. The full commit by the veterans pays off as they get that second Gold Fury of the game. We've almost got as many Gold Furies as we have kills at the 19-minute mark. 3 Gold Furies down, 2 going the way of Elevate. That's why you see the very slight gold lead starting to go in their favor because of that objective control.
Despite DoctorL now playing jungle for very long, he knows his role and responsibility playing this Ratatoskr. He goes up into the sky using that ultimate as a satellite to see where people are from Strictly Business, and he doesn't necessarily commit. Once he uses the second part of his ultimate, he comes back into it just to zone.
Portal Demon secured there by SB, but they might lose some members for it. Reminisst getting low, as will Mr. Teep, and DoctorL finds his second kill in the jungle. Niquid now caught off all alone, finds the Whirlwind of Rage and Steel to toss everyone away from Chillvanus, just trying to get himself out of danger, and he will. But Teep, he falls for the 3rd time. All 3 kills for Elevate are onto the mid laner. Again, SB get the Portal Demon, but they pay for it with their mid laner's life. This could open up a good opportunity to pressure on the right-hand side here for Elevate, who are all incredibly healthy still.
10 more seconds for Mr. Teep, but without DoctorL on the right-hand side, he still has the global ultimate if he wants to make the rotation. Instead, making sure that there's no split push shenanigans, keeping the tier 1 mid tower alive despite how low it is not a bad idea, but Checo taking a lot of poke.
Great axe there from Keji. A little bit of damage on a Nickwood, but not a whole lot. Man, that Xing Chen is tanky already. See the Mantle of Discord, the pickup for the solo laner. DoctorL looking for Teep in the jungle. They punished him so much already this game, forces out both of his relics, but that got the dash, and Keji gonna be able to pick him up with a beautiful axe. The Cabrakan there as well, just as insurance to pick up the jungler. Reminisst and the rest of SB want to chase down the remaining members of Elevate, but Elevate already got what they came for. They got that tier 1 tower in the solo lane.
Another great axe from Keji, stopping DoctorL in his tracks. Didn't really respect the axe, didn't use the purification beads in advance, but right-hand side, in response, strictly business, trying to get a tier 1 of their own.
Nickwood finds both with the washing machine and directly into the water from Teep. There's the up, there's the down. Reminisst picks up Delnyy with the execute. Lightning Storm was there from oBoronic just to try and get everyone out of danger. It will get Kenshin out, as well as his use of the cavalry charge, but it doesn't save Delnyy, as he's got to wait 32 seconds on the bench till he's allowed to play again.
Taking it really slow here is strictly business. After finding that pick and then getting the tier 1 on the right, they don't extend their advantage by going for a tier 2 or the Fire Giant, playing very carefully here, sacrificing their tier 1 on the left just to be able to pick up the mid tower instead. And that's rather questionable considering that there was more to it for them. Checo would have to invest into the global ultimate to be able to defend that tier 2 tower, and then if you do force that ultimate, then you could just back off anyway.
That is true, but you do want to kind of expose Zeus in the middle lane a little bit, I suppose. Try and make sure that the immobile mage could get chased down fairly easily, though like we already talked about, oBoronic in the mid lane has gone for a pretty defensive-oriented build, so even without his tier 1 tower may still be A-okay from any gank potential. 22 minutes in now, and SB has reclaimed the lead, though it's a slight one in both kills and gold. 4-3, read the kills. Just under 1,000 gold for the purple squad.
Mid lane, they're all grouped up. Golfier is not responding for another minute and a half, just making sure that the wave doesn't get denied under their tower. Looking at this team composition, this is getting to that late game form here. And like you were mentioning before, with Mr. T being behind a little bit thus far, oBoronic has been getting the better end of it. Top of the player damage thus far with a very tanky build, I would say, like we mentioned.
Yeah.
Still now getting a little bit of a power spike with that Obsidian Shard. Does have the penetration.
Absolutely, and that's a big power spike considering he hadn't even built into the magic focus yet. He just backed and bought an entire Obsidian Shard, and ever since the nerf in Season 4, adding a little bit of gold, used to be 2050, now 2300. It's pretty rare to be able to do that now, but oBoronic able to pick that up no problem, and that's really the only damage that he's got in his build. Dynasty Plate Helm does provide a good amount of damage and penetration, but
cost-effective.
It's a hybrid item. Yeah, it's a cost-effective hybrid item. Obsidian Shard, the only outright offense that oBoronic has, but he hasn't really needed it thus far. His return to the mid lane going pretty well, as you mentioned, top of the player damage charts, 1, 1, and 2. And like we mentioned, Teep has been every death so far for Strictly Business, as Checo trying to knock down that tier 2 tower, nearly does all by himself there. But is this a matter of Teep's positioning not being great, or that Strictly Business isn't doing a good enough job peeling for him?
It's a combination of both. Also, it's very difficult to really get away from DoctorL in that global ultimate. Taking a lot of damage is Reminisst off of the Heartseeker stack from DoctorL. Taking a little bit of poke return with the Furious Roars Michael Checo, but with the Gold Fury here, going to be able to sustain that back up and then look for more team fight action as Reminisst. It's about 75% health.
But he can heal up pretty easily. Gold Fury down right around 50% HP. Delnyy, the focus right now for SB is the rest of Elevate peel off that Gold Fury and look for the engagement. DoctorL, nobody's home right there on the red buff, and he's the one who gets immediately turned on, falling pretty low. Lightning Storm not going to hit anybody there for oBoronic. Chillvanus, though, all by himself, is able to dash up over that red buff wall. Nickwood back into the front line. There comes crashing down is Michael Checo. Hits 3 with Across the Sky. oBoronic running from his life, but can't get away from the hovering death as Reminisst picks up the mid laner. Delnyy, he's going to be next. Keji did fall around the backside of the Gold Fury, and Kenshin is looking to pick up Mr. Teep while Nikwid zones away too, but can't do so for long. DoctorL able to pick it up 2 for 2 right now. Both teams still fighting.
Kenshin didn't have enough healing on his conviction to be able to top off oBoronic, but not done yet is DoctorL zoning away. Great mez. They're going to force out the Purification Beans. Nice movement speed as well from Reminisst to be able to get away from mid lane. Chillvanus, though, he's getting chased down, looking for the jump over the wall, but not going to find it. DoctorL confirming that one. Gold Fury still stands, though.
It was a cute little disarm there from Chillvanus to make sure Michael Checo couldn't auto-attack down Reminisst. He was retreating, but I think Elevate realized, wait, I was disarmed. That means Chillvanus jumped, so we can kill him no problem, and they do exactly that. DoctorL going back to his solo lane roots, zoning away the enemies, but he knows Reminisst is up in the sky. However, Gold Fury's already done. Elevate able to secure their 3rd of the game, even in kills, but not in gold. Elevate up right around 1,500.
That's a level 20 Apollo action right there for your Strictly Business. Couldn't really contest that one unless they committed to it quickly enough, and that's going to be a pretty big power spike for them in terms of controlling the map even further. They've been able to get a few towers here and there, and during that option, before the Gold Fury fight even started out, we saw Michael Checo split push the left-hand side, and that tier 2 tower is very low.
Yeah, Michael Checo's really big. He doesn't have any kills right now. In fact, DoctorL has 5 of the 6 for Elevate, really playing that role of cleanup crew, but Checo's had a very impressive game on this Apollo. 3rd on his team in player damage, right underneath DoctorL and oBoronic. He's been absolutely killing it so far. Looks like SB wants to do the Portal Demon, but we're going to have a quick pause and they can sort things out. But yeah, DoctorL and oBoronic seem to be working a little bit better than they were whenever oBoronic was in the jungle and DoctorL was the one in the mid lane.
Well, this is sometimes that you have to experiment with just to see what sticks. You throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and you see what happens and what sticks. So far, so good for DoctorL. He has 100% kill participation with this Ratatoskr. oBoronic's been doing a good job on the Zeus.
Yeah.
So far, so good. The question is, can they extend the lead a little bit further? Delnyy is going to try to hold on to this Portal Demon.
Yeah, gotta try and make it happen here for Elevate, but like you mentioned, DoctorL, he's been doing a good job. Looks like we're right in the middle of the team fight, and Reminisst immediately going to be able to pick up Kenshin. Comes crashing down with a bang. We return. Checo, he's in a bad spot, forced to use the moves, and that knockup helping him out quite a bit there. DoctorL trying to go in 1v4. Teep, there's the Aegis. DoctorL still trying to find him and will dart out of danger. So Portal Demon does go the way of Strictly Business, and Reminisst finds the execute on a Kenshin.
Great play. That's going to be a 1-for-0. Still dead for another 20 seconds. That could potentially open the door for a Fire Giant. You do have level 19 on this Ullr. That does have a decent amount of damage here. Working on that Titan's Bane now. And then look at this. Elevate. They're going to have the Ratatoskr in mid.
Trying to start the Fire Giant though, SB. They're trying to grab this. Reminisst taking the 1v1 up against Michael Checo, but the crits are too much for Reminisst to try and handle. Fire Giant still being committed on, and SB do secure it and pick up DoctorL in the process. Delnyy stunned out, tossed back as well. Nikwid puts him right in the center of all 5 members of SB. The up, the down. There goes Delnyy. Keji picks him up and makes up for Reminisst's miss. But all 5 members of SB have the Fire Giant 9-6. 3 quick kills for SB, and multiple objectives as well. And I've got a feeling, Tully, they're just getting started with this Fire Giant buff.
It was just a zoning ulti, honestly, from Reminisst. He didn't have to find the execute, you know, exactly right there. Making sure he doesn't go north, forced to go south into the rest of his teammates. Finding another kill. They find themselves another tier 2 tower, extending the lead a little bit here. About 2,000, not too much in the 28.5 minute mark, but the problem is there's 3 more towers to go.
And there's such long respawn timers here. This hasn't been the quickest paced game, and so you might not realize we're at the 28-minute mark, so these respawns are going to be significant. Delnyy still up, not up for 10 seconds. DoctorL finally now respawning. SB was able to snag 2 tier 2 towers in the process. That's 3,000 gold in their pockets. They're gonna be able to back up, spend that gold, and really make use of the rest of this Fire Giant buff. I suspect that they'll be knocking down those 2 towers in the duo lane. They'll Elevate to decide where they want to contest. Do they want to fight underneath the tier 2 tower, or do they want to take the fight underneath the Phoenix?
Elevate have to play defense for another 2.5 minutes as SB has that Fire Giant buff. The tier 2 is definitely the better option, because if you're defending the tier 1, you're putting yourself really further away from your base, and if things go really south for you, you're not going to be able to back to your base, heal up from the fountain, and then rotate back to the team fight in time to defend the tower anyway. So you might as well well be looking to defend shorter distance from your fountain, utilizing that sustain and going in and out of the action as quickly and as often as you can.
Keji's gone for the Odysseus bow here. Last item, his build all done there. Nothing else for him to buy. Mr. Teep has that Fatalis completed, still waiting on his Rod of Tahuti. We didn't really measure this, but Nickwood going for the Spectral Armor, really looking to get out of that Talu Assault damage would be my guess in that scenario. Tier 2 tower is the call. There's the frenzy popped by Elevate. They isolate Chillvanus, but he's able to get up into that dragon form. Teep falling very, very low in the jungle. Kraken does hit a couple, but Checo cleans up Teep. Lightning Storm raging in the jungle, but Reminisst picks up Kenshin in response. The rest of SB trying to re-engage under this tier 2.
4-on-4, Kenshin dead for 40 seconds. Everyone is healthy from SB. They find a pick onto Checo. He had no idea. DoctorL falls as well. Tier 2 goes down. The chain lightning from oBoronic is going to halt them for a little bit with the slow, but it's not enough.
Shout out to that Spectral Armor. Michael Checo didn't know not to auto Nickwood. Nickwood just being the big old bully underneath that left side Phoenix. It falls quickly. Keji is still here. Teep falls yet again. That seems to be the idea for SB. Let the enemy team dive Teep all they want. If we've got 4 members healthy, it's going to be difficult for them to defend even if we don't have the mid laner. oBoronic pretty far forward here, taking a lot of damage. No relics available for him after he uses that Aegis. In fact, he actually does have solved that purification beads, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. Phoenix on the right side falls as well. That means that Titan is completely exposed for SB.
You might as well be considered the tier 3 here. No more structures available for Elevate. Their Titan is at its most vulnerable form. SB are putting themselves in a great spot to close out the first game here, guys. It's 9,000 gold in the lead, and they still have Fire Giant for another 15 seconds, so they know the timer once that fades away.
It's kind of like, everyone's saying this isn't even my final form. It's like the opposite of that for the Titan.
This is my weakest form.
Yeah, don't look at me. I'm exposed right now. I'm not decent.
You ever have that dream where just like you're like in front of a crowd and it's just like, all right, I'm gonna.
Okay, I got you.
You know?
Yeah.
You know.
I know. I think. I suppose. 32 minutes. SB up 12-7 in kills. Like you mentioned, they're in a great spot to take game 1 of this set up against Elevate, the second place team in North America, looking to continue their dominance. My guys did just that earlier on today, taking the 2-0 over Obey Alliance, the defending world champs. So my guys still in number 1 spot. DoctorL.
Wombo combo.
See ya. Mr. Teep picks up his first kill. That's some revenge right there. Teep's like, this man has been diving me all game, and I'm about to show him something.
And this isn't even Mr. Teep's final form. That was a level 19 Poseidon. That's only level 4 ultimate, using the Whirlpool, the Kraken, and the Tidal Surge there. Only those 3 abilities connected onto that Ratatoskr, confirming the kill.
Great recognition of relic timers there. You see that DoctorL just now getting that Aegis and Purification beads up off cooldown. That's why you saw Mr. Teep play so aggressively in that scenario. Fire Giant, no contest possible here for Elevate. SB able to snag it away, no problem whatsoever. DoctorL still has 19 seconds left on his respawn timer. You can see Kenshin has picked up a frenzy of his own to match that of Reminisst, but the flickering rituals coming out. You got 2 on the side of SB, only 1. Michael Checo.
Chillvanus, though, pops the dragon form rather quickly, and the frenzied ritual. It's going to be a dive onto the Titan. Reminisst goes into the sky. In the backline is Michael Checo, but he's going to drop instantly.
Teep gonna find one, Keji another, Delny's gonna fall, oBoronic able to escape with just 1 HP. No frenzy now, SB did use it in that engagement. Reminisst blinks into the back line as Mr. Teep cleans up Kenshin and oBoronic. Teep back with a vengeance, 0-4 to 4-4, and SB take game 1, 17-7.
Great performance by Strictly Business. They're able to hold on to the game despite Mr. T falling behind in the early stages of the game, getting dove heavily, repeatedly by both Ratatoskr and the Guan. It was very difficult to really stay alive, but either way, once he got the power spike of that fatality, he had enough mobility to really put himself in a good spot.
Objective control for both teams was excellent. I mean, we saw SB take an early Gold Fury, Elevate answer back with 2 of their own in quick succession. But overall, it's that Portal Demon win, and then the Fire Giant picked up by SB. As we saw DoctorL split pushing the middle tower down, just the team play for SB continues to impress even during their small time in the SCL. See if they can keep it going here. Game 2.